The Prime Minister is distancing herself from questions around Labour's coalition partner New Zealand First and political donations as the pressure continues to mount. The New Zealand First leader and Deputy Prime Minister Winston remains defiant, telling reporters no law has been broken. As his party faces allegations, a foundation is being used to disguise the identity of donors. In Parliament today, Jacinda Ardern refused to express confidence Mr Peters has been acting within the law at all times. And she insists her role is not to order inquiries into the actions of other political parties. Rather, that's the job of agencies like the Electoral Commission, the Police and the Serious Fraud Office. But National is continuing its call for her to take stronger action, including looking at bringing in the police. Here's our political editor, Jane Patterson.
The Electoral Commission has been in contact with New Zealand First after media reports about the New Zealand First Foundation, which has loaned the party nearly $200,000 since the last election. There are different disclosure rules for loans as opposed to donations, and there are now questions about the legality of how the foundation's being used. The website Stuff describes a complex web that appears to be designed to hide donations. The news outlet says it's uncovered financial records which show the foundation collected money from wealthy donors, which was then used for party matters. Mr Peters, though, is unfazed.
We would welcome the investigation by the Electoral Commission because a whole lot of people are making fake news, false allegations, and we'll prove that to you. And more importantly, to our hundreds of thousands of voters out there.
The Electoral Commission would only say today it had contacted the party and the foundation. Mr Peters says they'll cooperate fully.
The party will need some considerable time to assemble all the information which we're happy to give to the Electoral Commission, and I look forward to them telling you the truth.
How worried are you that this is going to be 2008 all over again?
Well, in 2008, what we had was you people defying the fact that there were 3 full-scale investigations, all found New Zealand First and me innocent, but you kept up the same parade. I never saw anybody apologise.
The National Party leader Simon Bridges has his sights set on Jacinda Ardern, demanding she take action.
There are questions of trust and the integrity of her government that go right to its very heart.
He says the Electoral Commission may be looking at this matter, but that's not enough.
We need to know, I think, more than that, what else can be done. Actually, a question she should be able to get good advice on and answer is whether this should be referred by her or someone in government to the police.
Ms Ardern says it's not her role to investigate. That would be up to the Electoral Commission, the police or the Serious Fraud Office.
They're all the places where we seek assurances that electoral laws are being upheld. And again, when it comes to, for instance, issues within the National Party, it would never be appropriate for any government party to inquire into them, and that's a principle I hold very, very firm.
She was asked if she could assure voters unknown New Zealand First donors had not had an undue influence on policy.
And that's ultimately exactly what the Electoral Commission is for, is to provide those assurances for the New Zealand public. That's where it should be dealt with.
The Greens' Golriz Gurriman says this further shows the need for reform of donations law.
We do need greater transparency around just who is contributing to our political system and what vested interests may be there.
She was asked if she was comfortable being in a governing arrangement with a party facing these allegations.
Well, the idea is that there's questions around every political party's donations because we have such a high anonymity threshold for our political donations.
So you're happy with New Zealand First?
We would like to see donations laws reformed so that there's no uncertainty around any political party's donations.
Simon Bridges pushed the Prime Minister on her responsibilities during question time.
Does she have confidence that the Deputy Prime Minister has been acting within the law at all times?
Mr Speaker, I'm going to stick with the convention of this House and reply to questions that, of course, I have responsibility for. I did not have responsibility, for instance, with the National Party's compliance or non-compliance with the electoral law, nor do I have responsibility for any other political party's compliance beyond my own. We have independent agencies for that.
He tried again.
So does she have confidence that he's been acting within the law at all times?
Speaker, again, it would be wrong to have me as the leader of a political party inquire into the practices of any other political party. Mr. Speaker, the member may well remember that when it came to the National Party's issues, I did not get into those issues. I left it for other agencies, and I will do the same here.
And will the Prime Minister call a snap election?
I'm not Muldoon.
From Parliament for Checkpoint, Jane Patterson.